Picture this. You slide open the heavy side door of your camper van, right?
Oh, the classic van life dream.
Exactly. So the crisp morning air hits your face, and the sun is just starting to light up those towering sun-baked red rocks of the desert.
Right, the absolute peak Instagram aesthetic.
Yeah, it's the ultimate dream of van life. Total unbothered freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is a big but, if you are a black woman stepping out of that van, the map you're navigating looks entirely different from the one glowing on your phone screen.
It's a profound difference in reality. We're so used to seeing this, highly curated, romanticized version of nomadic living online.
Oh, totally. Just perfect sunsets and coffee.
Exactly. But when you strip away the filters and actually examine the logistical and the historical realities of these spaces, you find a landscape heavily layered with invisible boundaries.
Right.
Unspoken rules and histories of exclusion that fundamentally alter how a person experiences that supposed freedom.
And that is exactly what we are exploring today on this deep dive.
Yeah.
We are putting two iconic Western nomadic hubs head-to-head, Sedona, Arizona, and Denver, Colorado.
Two very different vibes.
Very different. We're looking at the raw pros and cons of van life in these environments,
Yeah.
but we are going far beyond like Wi-Fi speeds and scenic parking spots today.
Right, because we really have to look at the literal ground these vans are parked on.
Yeah, we're unpacking the histories of sundown towns in the West and asking a very real question. How does a region's erased past shape a black traveler's safety and, sense of belonging today?
Because you really cannot separate the modern experience of a place from its historical engineering. To understand the daily calculus of a marginalized nomad, you have to understand the blueprints of the towns they are driving through.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the allure of the Sedona Desert. Because when you look at the draw of this place from our sources, it is absolutely undeniable.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
You've got the vast Coconino National Forest,
Yeah.
the famous spiritual vortexes in places like Boynton Canyon,
Right, huge draw for people.
and world-class hikes like Devil's Bridge. Plus, for van lifers who actually need to fund their travels, the local hospitality job market is booming.
Yeah, lots of seasonal work.
And then there's the holy grail of van life, which is free dispersed camping on public lands. Places like Forest Road 525 and Loy Butte Road.
Right, and for those who might not be familiar with the terminology, dispersed camping means pulling your vehicle off onto Public Bureau of Land Management or Forest Service land.
Out in the wild.
Exactly. There are no water hookups, no electrical grids, no bathrooms. It is just you, your vehicle, and the dirt.
Sounds amazing on paper.
It does. And while it sounds incredibly liberating, the day-to-day reality in Sedona is, grueling. First and foremost, the sources make it clear that dispersed camping is entirely illegal within the Sedona city limits.
Wow. So the city has effectively built this invisible 10-mile fortress wall around itself.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can look at Sedona, you can work in Sedona, but you cannot legally sleep there in your vehicle.
Precisely. Nomads are pushed 10 to 15 miles out into the surrounding desert just to find a legal patch of dirt for the night.
That's a huge commute just to go to bed.
It really is. And those free spots you mentioned, like Forest Road 525, they come with severe environmental hazards.
Oh, right, the mud.
Yeah, in the winter months, that dirt road turns into a thick, sticky clay mud. It plasters the tires, it coats the undercarriage of the vans.
Which is a nightmare.
If you're driving a heavy rear-wheel drive camper van, it becomes incredibly treacherous.
Yeah.
You are literally sliding sideways toward ditches just trying to get to your bed for the night.
I can't even imagine. And, let's talk about the morning after you survive that mud, because getting clean is a whole other logistical nightmare.
Oh, the costs are wild.
The sheer expense of basic needs in Sedona is staggering. A single shower at some facilities in Sedona can cost $20.
$20.
$20 just to wash the clay off your legs.
Which fundamentally alters a nomad's daily routine. I mean, you can't afford a $20 shower every single day.
No way.
So instead, van lifers are forced into this massive, time-consuming commute. They end up driving 30 minutes away, completely out of the Sedona bubble, to the neighboring town of Cottonwood.
Right.
There, they can pay $8 for a day pass at the local rec center to take a shower, and they can finally access groceries and propane that won't, completely bankrupt their monthly budget.
It sounds less like a vacation and more like a high-stakes escape room.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You're burning daylight, you're burning expensive diesel fuel, and you're burning your cash just trying to solve the daily puzzle of where you are legally allowed to exist, get drinking water, and use a bathroom without facing ruin.
Exactly. It's like being a duck on a pond.
Yeah, duck on a pond. Now, it's peaceful on Instagram, but underneath you are paddling furiously just to stay afloat. And when you look at that level of hostility in the infrastructure, it begs a bigger question.
What's that?
Is this really about protecting the fragile desert environment from overuse, or is it a targeted effort to keep a certain demographic of people out of town?
Well, when you synthesize the local accounts from the sources, a very distinct theme emerges regarding the town's culture. The local sentiment has turned aggressively against nomads.
Yeah, that elite vibe.
Right. There are descriptions of a prevailing elite mentality where wealthy property owners and locals use their influence to actively push campers out.
And it's not just laws, right?
No, it goes way beyond just zoning laws. It translates to massive boulders being physically placed to block former parking pull-offs.
Wow.
And intense surveillance of public lands. It is a highly engineered environment designed to make the nomad feel entirely unwelcome.
And if we're talking about feeling unwelcome, we have to look at the racial demographics of the community building those barriers. Because according to the census data in our sources, Sedona's population is overwhelmingly white, up to 93%. Depending on the specific data set you look at.
Right, which heavily impacts the experience for a Black traveler.
Absolutely. There's a deeply unsettling anecdote from a Reddit thread we reviewed that perfectly captures the daily friction this creates.
Oh, the Slide Rock story.
Yeah. So a Black woman was visiting Sedona, doing the most mundane, relaxing thing imaginable, simply sunbathing at Slide Rock.
Just minding her own business.
Minding her business.
Oh.
And while she's laying there, a white woman staying at the same hotel approaches her and casually asks, "Are you even legal?"
Ugh, it's just a chilling interaction, a completely ordinary moment disrupted by an interrogation of her right to simply exist in that space.
Right.
But to understand why an environment fosters that kind of casual hostility, we have to look deeper into the region's history. ASU anthropologist Mescaram Glegziabher has done incredible research on this.
Yeah, her work is fascinating.
She documented how the history of Black people in Arizona has been systematically and intentionally erased.
Which is wild to think about, because when most people think of Arizona history, the dominant image is entirely white cowboys, ranchers, Wyatt Earp.
Exactly. That is the heavily curated myth. But the reality of Arizona's development is entirely different. Black soldiers, loggers, and agricultural workers were foundational to building the territory.
Really foundational.
In the 1930s and 40s, there was a massive migration. Black workers were actively recruited from Oklahoma and Texas, specifically because of their advanced agricultural expertise.
Oh, to work the cotton farms, right?
Yes, to work the booming cotton farms in the Valley of the Sun. They built thriving communities. But you just do not see that reflected in the state's popular history.
You don't see it in the books, and you quite literally don't see it in the physical landscape anymore.
No, you really don't. Glegziabher's research details some profound physical examples of this erasure. Take downtown Phoenix, for instance.
Okay.
The Rice Hotel was a prominent, vital accommodation for African Americans during segregation. It was literally a listed safe haven in the Green Book.
Wow.
And it was completely demolished to build Chase Fields.
Wait, stop right there. So they took a Green Book safe haven, a building that was literally a sanctuary keeping Black travelers alive and off the streets, and they just bulldozed it to build a baseball stadium.
Yes, entirely removed it.
That isn't just forgetting history, that is physically burying it under concrete.
It is active destruction. And it wasn't an isolated incident. The Booker T. Washington Hospital, which was opened in 1921 by the city's first Black physician, was also torn down.
I would guess another stadium.
No, if you go to that site today, it is literally just an empty dirt lot. In a 2004 survey of historic African-American properties in the area, more than half of the 175 identified sites had already been destroyed.
So the physical proof that your ancestors helped build this state is just gone.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is the deep psychological impact of that specific destruction. Glegziabher argues that when you physically erase this history, you narratively construct what she calls a white stream public heritage.
A white stream heritage.
Okay. When the dominant visible narrative completely ignores your existence and your contributions, it delegitimizes Black folks' claims to space and their claim to an Arizonan identity. The landscape itself is designed to make you feel like a perpetual, out-of-place outsider.
Which brings us right back to the driver's seat of that van.
Yeah.
Because this isn't just an academic history lesson, right? It has a massive impact on a traveler's daily cognitive load.
Absolutely.
Think about how this alters your routing decisions.
Right.
Like, If the historical proof that you belong has literally been paved over, how does that change your daily mental checklist when you're parking your van for the night?
It adds an intense layer of vulnerability to a lifestyle that is already incredibly precarious. When you're a black woman pulling your van off a dark dirt road in the Coconino National Forest to sleep, you aren't just worried about getting stuck in the clay mud.
Right.
You are carrying the immense psychological weight of being perceived as an outsider, an anomaly, in a place that has spent decades engineering your historical erasure. You have to be hypervigilant in a way that a white traveler simply does not.
So you might be thinking, well, if the desert is too harsh and the rural areas are that exclusionary, the logical survival move is to just pack up and drive to a progressive urban center, right?
It's the usual assumption.
So let's look at the alternative. Fleeing the hostile desert for the booming, modern metropolis of Denver, Colorado. Does a city like that actually offer a refuge for a nomad? Or is it just a different set of traps?
Urban van camping is an entirely different operational beast. It requires a completely different skill set.
When you look at the immediate pros, Denver seems like a massive relief. For one, the sources highlight that it is an absolute haven for connectivity. Things like T-Mobile 5G home internet work flawlessly in the city center.
Which is a massive upgrade if you're a digital nomad relying on Zoom calls to make a living.
Exactly. And the urban amenities are incredible. You can roll up to the giant REI flagship store downtown and get free potable water.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, you can grab a hot, reliable shower at Planet Fitness for $10 to $15 a month rather than $20 for a single wash in Sedona.
Such a difference.
And you have amazing access to places like Red Rocks and local breweries, all on paved roads, no muddy, treacherous commutes.
The pavement is definitely a relief. But the concrete cons of Denver are severe, and they hit your wallet and your body hard.
Right.
First, the cost of living is notoriously high. To comfortably sustain a digital nomad lifestyle in Denver, you're looking at a monthly budget of around $2,820.
Ouch.
Yeah. Then you have the physical toll. Denver sits at an altitude of 5,280 feet. That requires a genuine physiological adjustment. The air is thin, and dehydration happens fast.
And then there's the winter.
Oh, the weather. Harsh winter snowstorms are a reality. Living in a metal box on wheels during a Colorado blizzard is not just uncomfortable. Without a properly installed diesel heater and extreme insulation, it is genuinely dangerous.
It's a literal battle against the elements. But beyond the freezing temperatures, nomads in Denver are currently facing a massive structural logistical nightmare regarding where to actually put their vehicles.
The parking crisis is acute right now. This is a vital piece of reason context from the sources. Denver previously had a lifeline program called the Colorado Safe Parking Initiative. This was a program that provided safe, legal, designated overnight parking spots for people living in their vehicles. It offered security, sanitation, and most importantly, peace of mind.
Which is everything when you live in your car.
Exactly. But that initiative completely closed its doors and ceased operations on December 31st, 2024.
So overnight, the city just pulled the rug out from under the entire vehicle-dwelling community.
Completely. And the immediate ripple effect of that policy shift is devastating. Nomads are now forced into two extreme options.
What are they?
They can either pay for private commercial RV parks in the metro area, which regularly run anywhere from $50 to $80 a single night.
A night.
Yeah, per night. Or, if they can't afford that, they are relegated to playing a precarious game of hide and seek. They end up sleeping in heavy industrial zones, mostly tucked away in North Denver, trying to blend in among commercial warehouses.
Just to avoid getting in trouble.
Right, to avoid residential noise ordinances, strict anti-loitering laws, and the police.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we have to challenge this whole romanticized concept of urban van camping.
Definitely.
If your daily reality consists of hiding in a polluted industrial park next to a factory, or draining your savings to pay $80 a night just to park your tires on a slab of private concrete, haven't we just reinvented paying rent?
Pretty much.
Except now you have dramatically worse plumbing, a fraction of the square footage, and the constant lingering anxiety of a midnight knock on your window from law enforcement.
It is an incredibly fair critique. The illusion of freedom evaporates very quickly when you are paying premium hotel prices to sleep in a glorified parking lot.
Seriously.
Or when your safety depends on not being noticed by warehouse security guards. And that profound fear of a midnight police knock. It is amplified exponentially when we broaden our view and look at the history of the municipalities surrounding Denver.
Because we have to talk about the myth of the progressive West. And just as a quick note for the listeners, we are relaying the history documented in the sources here, exploring these past realities and how they impact travelers today.
Right, this is strictly based on the historical documentation.
So Denver itself might brand itself as this inclusive, forward-thinking hub. But if you are a Black traveler in a van, you have to navigate the surrounding suburbs and rural highways just to reach the city limits. And those surrounding areas carry a very dark, very specific history.
We are talking about the history of sundown towns, and we really need to clarify what that means, because there is a common misconception that this was strictly a phenomenon of the deep American South.
Right.
A sundown town was an all-white municipality that explicitly legally banned Black people from living there, or even being within the city limits after dark.
Which is terrifying.
It is. And sociologists, like the late James Loewen, have documented that this was incredibly widespread across the North and the West. The vast majority of the suburbs surrounding cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and specifically Denver were historically operated as sundown towns.
And when you look at the historical records for Colorado from our deep dive, the specifics are chilling. It wasn't just unspoken prejudice, it was loudly advertised policy. Take Loveland, Colorado, which is just a short drive north of Denver.
Right, the sweetheart town.
Yeah, they used to have a prominent welcoming sign for motorists that literally read, "Welcome to Loveland, Alev, 5,000 nationally famous sweetheart town." And hung right beneath that cheerful, welcoming greeting was a smaller handmade sign that read, "We observe the Jim Crow laws here."
It was a clear, unmistakable threat to any Black traveler passing through.
Unbelievable.
Or consider Fruita, Colorado, over on the western slope. They had a literal codified law on the books stating that Black people had to leave the city limits before dusk.
And this wasn't ancient history.
No, that law wasn't an ancient relic of the 1800s. It was not officially repealed until 1952. Towns deeply embedded in the Denver metro orbit, like Golden and Louisville, share very similar documented histories of intentional exclusion.
Now, I can hear someone listening to this right now thinking, okay, but that law in Fruita was repealed in 1952. The Jim Crow sign in Loveland is long gone. Why does a history from 70 years ago matter to a van lifer trying to find a parking spot tonight?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it matters because of what James Loewen identified as second-generation sundown town issues.
Okay, unpack that.
Just because the explicit signs come down and the explicit laws are repealed does not mean the legacy of that exclusion just magically vanishes.
Right.
Because these towns were artificially engineered to remain entirely white for decades, that exclusion becomes baked into the modern infrastructure.
Yeah.
It manifests today in overwhelmingly white local governments, overwhelmingly white teaching staffs, and crucially for a van lifer, overwhelmingly white police forces.
And how does that specifically alter the day-to-day reality of living in a vehicle?
It changes the stakes of every single interaction. Nomads, by the very nature of sleeping in vehicles, are subjected to frequent knock-and-talks by local police or sheriffs doing wellness checks or enforcing parking ordinances.
It's part of the lifestyle.
Right. But if you are a Black woman sleeping in a van and you receive a midnight knock on your window from a police force whose institutional culture was shaped by a legacy of enforcing sundown laws, that is no longer just a routine wellness check.
It's something else entirely.
Exactly. It is a high-stakes, potentially dangerous interaction where implicit bias can thrive, unchecked by community diversity.
It is a profound layering of historical trauma and modern precarity. I mean, imagine being a Black woman navigating a van through these suburbs just to get to Denver. You are driving through towns historically engineered to exclude you, while dealing with the modern vulnerability of sleeping in a fiberglass box in an industrial park.
It's overwhelming.
The mental toll of processing all of that, while just trying to find a place to sleep, is exhausting to even conceptualize.
It requires a level of situational awareness, historical knowledge, and vigilance that goes far, far beyond checking a weather app or looking at a campsite review.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this complex picture together for you. Choosing between Sedona and Denver as a nomad is clearly not a simple aesthetic choice between red rock canyons and craft breweries.
Definitely not.
If you are a Black woman navigating these spaces, it is a highly complex survival calculus. On one hand, Sedona offers unmatched natural beauty, but you are actively battling muddy, remote logistics, an incredibly expensive and hostile local attitude, and a landscape where your historical footprint has been actively paved over to create a whitewashed narrative.
Right.
On the other hand, Denver offers the modern lifeline of 5G connectivity and paved amenities, But you have to survive freezing high-altitude winters, a collapsing expensive parking landscape, and the lingering second-generation shadows of Colorado's sundown towns.
It really highlights how the concept of nomadic freedom is fundamentally unequal.
Yeah.
And before we go, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, drawing on a specific, very telling detail buried in the Sedona Community Plan draft we reviewed.
Oh yeah, this blew my mind.
The data reveals that a staggering 16.8% of Sedona's entire housing stock is now made up of short-term rentals.
Almost 17%.
This explosion of vacation homes is actively displacing the local workforce. It is pricing them out so severely that the town has had to make it legally permissible for essential Sedona workers to sleep in their cars just so they can stay and serve the tourists.
Wait, so the town is fighting tooth and nail to push out lifestyle vanlifers while simultaneously forcing their own essential workforce into living in their cars.
Exactly. The paradox is glaring. So I ask you to ponder this. As towns like Sedona fight aggressively against nomadic vanlifers to preserve their elite aesthetic while simultaneously pricing their own essential workers out of housing and into their vehicles, how will the very definition of a local resident evolve? In the near future, will van life cease to be a celebrated choice of nomadic freedom and instead become a mandated economic reality for the working class? One that clashes directly with the town's carefully curated and historically exclusionary image.
That is a heavy but absolutely necessary question to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. As you head out there, whether you're navigating the country in a camper van or just walking through your own neighborhood, remember to keep questioning the history beneath your feet and beneath your tires. Until next time, we'll see you on the next deep dive.